All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ailaracanfieldshow, the Awaken to Happiness Now global series. Thank you so much for being here today. And today we have Dr.Jean Logan with us. And we're going to be talking about how water can hold glyph frequency for faster healing and so much more. We're going to be also be talking about how the glyphs can be helpful for patients with mental disorders, we'll say, like stroke, and we'll talk about that kind of some of that stuff and how it can help. And we're going to talk about how a small drawing on a piece of paper can kill bacteria and viruses, how a picture of an insect can remove parasites from the body, how a 2-inch drawing can heal or help diseased glands and organs, and how this is a powerful, a powerful emotional and physical healing from the light of God. And with using these glyphs, you can save thousands on counseling, vet, and doctor bills. And this can also help you in removing what is holding you back. And this is also about experiencing the healing of the future. So this is, healing that is going to become even more mainstream. And you can do this healing in the privacy of your own home. You can use these glyphs yourself, your family, your pets, right at home without having to go anywhere. So for those of you who don't know Dr. Jean Logan is an Earth Ambassador and ordained minister. She has a doctorate in nutritional healing and has an extensive knowledge of many types of energy healing. As a conscious channel, Jean receives a language of light in the form of symbols and glyphs that are empowered by electronic impulses from the central sun. She's the author of 4 books, Unlocking the Power of Glyphs, Sacred Symbols of Light, Symbols of the Dawn, and Sacred Symbols of the New Age, as well as Sacred Symbols Healing Cards, and I think temporary tattoos as well now. And her books are now in over 100 countries with profits going to provide services to indigenous children. So Dr. Jean, I'm so glad that you're back with us and to talk about the glyphs and also to talk about how they can help us in our day-to-day life with certain disorders such as strokes, etc. And not just that, but also how it can be so simple by using the glyphs with water to help us, receive the benefits much more easily. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Lara. I am delighted to be here. I'm always happy to share what we have and to share what we have got to take over our own healing in ways that we never dreamed of before.
Oh, absolutely. And this is about self-care on all levels, right? Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, right? On all levels, caring for ourselves. So it's a holistic approach to self-care, radical self-care.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So do you want me to give a little bit of a background of how I got here? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, because there may be some new people.
Right. I want to tell you, as a child, I knew nothing about, I wasn't one of these who could see spirits and hear them and talk to them. I was just a frightened little girl. When I was, there were 3 of us in the bedroom and I slept, as the youngest, I slept in a crib longer than most children because it was so crowded. And one night, one of my older sisters, or maybe my older brother, got under my mattress of my bed and shoved it up and down and scared me half to death. And I really think that was the beginning of a long period of fear. My mother, even when I had my own room, my mother would have to come up and look under the bed with me and look in the closets, and fear was just my middle name there. And so much so that it just controlled my life. But this was the way, I'm sure this was planned, because I had to take a long time to overcome that. But when I graduated from high school, I turned down a free college education because I was afraid I would have to speak in front of people. And so that's fear. And it took me a long time to dig myself out of that, but that's part of the pattern. It took everything we went through in our life to get where we are now, and that's where it is with me. And one day, I was always a seeker, and one day I was meditating and I saw this script writing on a blackboard, and I felt it was telling me to try guided writing. And so I went out with a notepad on the deck and tried. First, you just get gibberish. I encourage everybody to try, but don't let the fact that you get 2 pages of gibberish discourage you. Keep trying. Finally, after a couple pages, I finally got like, we are your guides and we're here to help you. We can tell you about the stars. We can, we can tell you about the flowers and the herbs. And so that was the beginning. And the thing I want to point out, I practiced every day doing that. And that's what's so important, is whatever you do in life, if you want to accomplish something, you must practice. So I would be talking to my guides, and it would be, and I talked to other people's guides when they asked me. And then one day when I thought, well, I wonder if God will talk to me. And I heard very clearly, well, yes, I'll talk to you. And I thought, now I call it God. I was raised a Catholic. So in a Catholic, we call it God, or, we call it He, and I still call it He by habit. I know it's not a He, but anyway, I ran and got my notebook and I started writing, and I felt like God was talking to a 3rd grader, and because that's where I was. And so I got the first handling was, you and I are one. You and I are one with all things. And it just went on very simple. And then, but further on, and this is a message really to everybody, please understand, you must speak out. That you cannot learn if you do not speak out. And when you speak out, others will learn. And so that's important for everybody to know. If you're afraid of speaking out, then you need to overcome that fear. So at one point, somebody sent me an email that had a glyph on it, and it said that this glyph would remove parasites from our body that held fear in us, and that we've had this since Babylonia and the days of Atlantis. And so I cut it out. It was about a little drawing of looked like a centipede, about 2 inches high, and I must have been guided. I put it on my solar plexus, and I had such a tremendous reaction. I felt like something was jumping around in my liver. And I told my guides, after it settled down, I asked my guides, I said, how did you do that? How did anybody who could give power to a drawing on a piece of paper, I can do that too. We can all do that. God has given us all the power. And so I got some basic instructions and played around with it for a while. I didn't have much luck at first, but then I had a friend who contacted me who had a bad injury to her foot that was now badly infected. And she said, what can I do? I don't want to get antibiotics. And I asked her if she'd be willing to try a little test here, a little research, and she agreed. And the next day she called back and she said, oh, this is working. The swelling is gone, the pain is gone, and it was on its way to healing. And I realized then the reason I didn't have any success is because we are holding a lot of emotions in us that are holding us back. And since my big one was fear, the first one I created was one to remove fear. And when I first used it, I could feel stuff coming out of me, out of my breasts and arms. I thought, wow, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. So then I just went on to create more, one to remove sadness, one to remove heartache. Every negative thought I could think of, I went ahead and created a glyph. And even criticism, Louise Hay said criticism is important. So, okay, yes, let's do that. And guilt, heartache, every negative thought. And so I just kept working with that. And at the time, I never intended to write a book, and I never intended to do anything but use these for myself. But I kept on using them. And I recognize now it's kind of like the layers of an onion, that you have to peel a little off at a time. You can't just dive right in, because we're holding layers of stuff for God knows how many lifetimes of all this negative, all this and the pain and the suffering we've been through in lifetimes. So I just kept using them and I felt better and lighter. The depression I felt was considerable before. Now I was finally free of the depression. It was just amazing. And I was using them, taping to my ex-husband at the time, and he could feel it working as well. So I'm going to close that door so I don't hear the telephone ringing.
And it's amazing how once you start using these glyphs, you know, you're starting at the emotional level, because like Dr. Jean was just saying, we hold a lot of negative emotions in our cells, in our energy field, in our bodies from many, many lifetimes. So we've been holding them and they've been playing out in our lives for so long. That's why we can't just do all of them at once. You know, it's a gradual process, because
Right.
otherwise it would be too hard on our system if we did all of them at once.
Right.
In my opinion, anyways.
Right. Well, it's important to know that you're moving energy. And when you try to use too many, it can overwhelm you. I know one night my husband went to ex-husband went to a movie, and he said when he got home, he could barely get out of the car because I'd been putting, so, I mean, I didn't think about it, that you could use too many. So if you do, when you use the glyphs, if you start feeling woozy, I would never use them before you're going to drive somewhere, putting a whole bunch of them on. One thing is fine, but I would not overdo it, especially when you're new. After you've been using them a while, then you kind of feel a little bit more confident about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a general, you know, overview of the
Right.
glyphs and
Sure.
Dr. Jean's story. So thank you, Dr.
Right.
Jean. So I think most people, have heard about glyphs. Everybody knows about energy healing, especially people who are on these types of calls, for sure. So but you know, and especially the power of water and how water is so helpful and so beneficial for us, right? So then combining the glyphs with the water.
Right. Well,
let's talk about that.
When I first got the idea, I have a hay fever. And so there's a glyph for allergy. And the glyph works really well for allergy, but it's a little tedious taping a glyph. The way you use them, you tape a glyph onto your solar plexus or some part of the body. That's one way of using them. There's several. And so I got the idea of, could I put them on a dropper bottle and use them similar to a liquid homeopathic? And so I tried it. And when you do it like this, it's a frequency. It's not exactly like a homeopathic, it's a frequency. And so when you use a frequency, you will do what's called succuss it. So each time I succuss it. And so then you take a dropper and you put it under your tongue. And so and it worked. And I thought, wow, this is great. Now, and not only did it work to relieve the symptoms, but I am free of the allergy. I am not having any problem with sneezing. And I say that, all of a sudden I'll start sneezing. No, but I would have to kind of sequester myself in the house with the air purifier before. And so now I have no problem. I can go outside and work in the garden and no problem.
Awesome.
So then I tried one for the heart. I felt like that was working. One for the lungs, that was another one. You know, my lungs have been bothering me. I think it's chemtrails myself. I wonder about that sometimes. And so I made a group of them. I had a whole string of different ones I was putting on there. And then I had a recent incident where everything out there that bites me. I mean, chiggers, in this part of the country, in the United States, we have little tiny bugs that will get you in the garden, and mosquito bites. And so I had, I try to protect myself as I can, but you know, these things are insidious. And I had big red welts behind my legs. I had mosquito bites on my arm, and I thought, well, you can put a glyph on to relieve it, but I didn't want to put a half a dozen or a dozen glyphs all over my body. And I thought, well, I wonder if it would work. I took a larger bottle and I put a couple glyphs for insect bites. I did one for insect bites, and that one will work great if you get a serious bite like a wasp or a yellow jacket. If you put that on right away, it's like it would never happen. And I have a real violent reaction to those things. So, and I just put one to circulation too, because I thought that would help with the circulation. So I went ahead and put it in a bottle, and I took just a little swig, and I did that about every 15 minutes for the first hour. Within an hour or so, all the irritation, the itching stopped. And then I just kind of had it with me where I'd every hour or so I would take a little drink of that, or a little swish it in my mouth, or whatever was convenient. And I had no trouble through the day. And the next day, the welts were down, the swelling was down, the redness was down. And actually, it's really sped up healing. I put on one glyph called cellular repair that helps your body heal faster. And I've healed from all those welts and stuff in record time. So that was a really, and it gave me ideas about, I think we could do a lot of them that way.
Yeah.
You know, I think there could be a lot of the glyphs. I think I tell people we have a Zoom meeting for people to talk about the glyphs and ask questions. And I said, experiment, go ahead and try, because we're doing something that is we're not familiar with. This is new. And so we just have to find out different ways that it, just like with the same thing with the temporary tattoos. And we'll just try that and see different things that we'll see to see how effective they are.
So Linda's asking about the glyphs. Are they facing the water? Like, are the glyphs facing the water, or does it matter?
It really doesn't matter. I have some facing the water because I had used them before, and I had put a piece of like a cloth tape on, and I felt like I wanted the frequency to be right against the bottle. So I put them facing the water. It really doesn't matter, because the one time I had candida once really bad, and I have a glyph for candida. And one way I've found to use them is take a half a page like this and put them in. I lay them next to me when I go to bed at night. And when I wake up, there's a time when I call it all channels are open, when you're half asleep and half awake. And I went ahead and I grabbed that page of the Candida glyphs, and I could feel the energy going up both arms with the same, you know, it didn't matter which side it was. It went up both arms, and it went right up into my brain, which is interesting because Candida can even get in your brain. And well, it was working. I had a headache for a minute, for a while, and as soon as I let go of the paper, the headache went away. So
powerful.
So I did that for a couple of days, and then after that, I had no response. So, which was telling me that, you know, it was gone.
Right.
And I asked my chiropractor to do some muscle testing on me, and she said, I said, can you check on my candida? And she said, I'm not getting that you have candida. Awesome. So that is, it is awesome, because candida is a tough one.
Yeah.
It's a real tough one. Right. So yeah, go ahead.
So there's some suggestions in the chat, some of the things that people have done. So Dawn, she ordered an acrylic glass into which she can place the printed glyphs. So that would be okay. She's getting it today. So try it out, Dawn, and let us know how it goes.
Right. My feeling is just intend, like people say, you know, is it okay if I laminate them? Or I used to use packing tape, that clear packing tape. And I think it just intend that the energy permeate the glyph, the tape. And because I have a pond, and I had a real problem with my pond, I was going, I have a glyph to heal the waters, the sacred healing water. And so someone, as a gift, they sent me some coasters with a picture of that glyph on. And so one day I was getting ready to go on vacation, and I went down to the pond, and it looked terrible. There was algae growing, there were dead salamanders, and I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I took that one stone coaster with that glyph on it and I stuck it in the pond. And when I got back 2 weeks later, the pond was clear. It was beautiful. And I mean, these things amaze me. Sometimes I can't believe I'm doing this. And so no, but then I just recently, after a while, that coaster did lose its image. So I tried putting the glyph in a canning jar in the water with some stones to keep it down. And for some reason, it didn't seem to be working as well. But a canning jar has a glass that's very stronger than most glasses, and I thought it might be inhibiting. So then I just said they made an intention that this glyph would permeate that glass and take care of heal the water. So so you have to, whatever you're doing, like people say, can I do it in black and white? Well, intend that it worked just as well. And people write me all the time that it works just fine. It works just fine.
Yeah, Cindy says she printed some on kids' temporary tattoo paper, so it's easier to wear. I didn't even know you could get that kind of stuff, but that's great. And it's easier for yourself to have it on, I guess. And
right.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Kids' temporary tattoo paper. Okay, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And Jones says, since it's a vibration, I wonder if there is a way to ward the bugs off by making a similar remedy like a spritzer solution.
I have created one. There's one for parasites, and one man wrote, and he said he put that glyph on his dog's tag, and he felt it kept the fleas off the dog. I thought, sometimes people will write me with success stories that they have. Now, I don't know about the size of his dog, because you can't buy little tags that will repel fleas. But if you have a big dog, it may not cover at all. So I can't say I don't remember if he said the size of the dog.
Okay, that's a great idea. I love
that. Also, you could put a page of the glyphs in the dog's bed or the cat. And that should help a lot. But then there again, if you took that parasite glyph and put it in some warm water before you give them, or you energize that glyph into the water before you give them the bath. Would that be a way that I just thought of that now? Whether you could avoid, because I think it's great not to go into with these shampoos that will kill fleas, because anything that will kill a flea is going to have some type of effect on the animal.
Yeah, but what about like just putting it in their drinking water?
Certainly, that's not a bad idea. I can remember one holistic vet, she says, put a crystal in the dog's drinking water too. And maybe you can even program the crystal. I do a little work of research with crystals. When I tested a glyph, I put the frequency in the crystal to see if I could get, because a crystal will give an immediate response. And so I think both, if you had it sitting under the drinking water, taped to the bottom of the drinking water, that's not a bad idea, but one thing, it doesn't allow you to succuss it, but when the dog's lapping it up, maybe there's going to succuss it at the same time.
That's true. Good, I'll do that. That'll help. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the call, of course, if you have a question for Dr. Jean, you can raise your hand or you can type your question in the chat. So I know Linda has had her hand raised for a while. Linda, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. There you are. Hello.
Hi, good to see you. You know that. Hi, Dr. Jean. It's so great to see you. I love it that you're on today. My question is there a glyph that will help with our ascension?
Absolutely. The emotional healing glyphs will help you with your ascension. That matter of fact, that's one of the reasons that we were given them. Is to help us with our ascension.
Is there,
Yes, absolutely. The emotional healing glyphs will really help when you let go of all that pain, heartache and so forth.
okay, thank you.
And the fear, of course, is
The
a good
fear.
one too. Yeah. Mhm.
What about what about taking care of narcissistic people?
Oh, now here's what you do. You take that first book, and
Yeah, I got it.
There's a glyph called Reaching Out.
Okay, that one. All right.
Okay, and use that glyph. What reaching out will do, and when you do that, when you work with when you're healing someone else, when you're working on someone else, I always make a statement. If you don't know how to dowse, you just make a statement. If the soul grants permission, because
Okay.
you can't do anything to someone else without their soul's permission. You don't have to ask them permission, because 9 times out of 10 they're not going to. Especially, I shouldn't. Some
No, you're right.
people might find that offensive. So, but anyway.
But it's also, Dr. Jean and Linda, it's not about the other person, it's about you as well. So
Right.
healing that within you that is, being triggered by that person, or being you're attracting that narcissistic behavior, right?
Absolutely.
So what is that within you that's attracting that, right? So healing that within you, that's first and foremost, because you can't change anybody else, right?
Right. Oh, definitely not.
Of course, if it's a family member, you really have to deal with, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I use that. I have pages of that glyph. Each page, there's 16 glyphs on a page.
Yep.
And I take the little yellow sticky pads and I put the name of the person, and then I put the date, and the glyph will run for 8 weeks. And every night while they're sleeping, it'll remove a layer of fear. The next night a layer of sadness. The next night a layer of guilt, and so on. And this will go on for 8 weeks. And I've seen improvement after just one course of that. But if just after 8 weeks, you just talk to the glyphs. The glyphs have consciousness. Tell them what you want. They'd say, go ahead and let's run that again. When you're doing a surrogate, you're intending that energy from that glyph will heal or help that other person. And the effectiveness of it will depend on your belief in your ability to project that energy.
Okay. Gotcha.
If you don't think like, well, maybe it'll work and I'll see if it works. No, it will work. Keep your mind positive, believe in your power, and say it will work. You can put your children, your grandchildren, the neighbor. I've got all my neighbors on there. I've got
they can't do any harm, right? So the glyphs cannot do any harm. So they will help in some way that other person,
right,
which in turn will affect you as well. But is there also like a glyph for just relationship harmony, like harmonious relationships, or harmony in relationships?
No, what I would say is just keep using that one, because if you're working on yourself and unknown to them, they're getting some relief from whatever they're holding. That should improve the relationship. There's also a glyph for love that does help. There's one I know. One night I had a headache and I couldn't go to a Toastmaster meeting at somebody's house. And my husband went out to the meeting and he got lost. He couldn't find the place. And he was so upset when he got home, and blah, 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 blah. And so while he was sitting there talking, I took that love glyph and I taped it on his heart chakra. And he said, "What did you do?" He said, "I wanted to be angry," he said.
So it changed his frequency and his vibration right away.
Yeah, it did. Well, it sure did.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Good luck with that, and let us know how it goes. Not good luck, but I know it'll help. So just let us know how it goes. Remember, 8 weeks, right? It's going to go continuously for 8 weeks.
Right. It says in the book 6, but I changed that to be 8. I felt that could use a little extra help there.
Awesome.
I want to read something. As I got communicated with Source, that one time I began doing that often, and often Source would tell me, I want you to create a glyph that does this, that heals the damaged nerve bundles or something. And so I would go ahead and create whatever I was told to do. But when I came to the last book, I thought, well, I never want just an endorsement from some other writer. I asked Source, I said, can I get an endorsement? And this is the back of the 4th book. It says, consider these glyphs as my gift to humanity. My desire is for all to have the ability to heal themselves of any afflictions. Do not despair for any reason. You have the power within you. And this is one I got from the Pleiadian Council of Light. These glyphs are a total breakthrough for Earthkind to take control of their healing and transformation. We highly recommend them to access the ability to free yourselves from the dark energy that controls your medical establishment. And I thought, well, that was good, because certainly there's a lot of dark energy in the medical. I'm not saying all doctors are bad or anything, but they're controlled. They're definitely all controlled. Absolutely.
For sure. Big pharma controls a lot. All right, so there's a question from Sharon. Is there a glyph to restore eye vision? We get that question a lot, don't we?
Yeah, there definitely is. There is a glyph, it's called Clear Vision or Clear Eyes, Clear Vision, I think it's called. And it healed, my ex-husband had glaucoma and cataracts. And so I used that on him. And it's important when you do that to read all the instructions, because it had instructions to put 2 of the glyphs on there's a little depression on the back of the skull there, and to put one under the arm, and I suspect these are acupuncture meridians that I was being told to put it on. But he was supposed to have surgery for both the cataracts and the glaucoma. And so just before he went to the doctor, and we didn't use it that often, he was not one to do it himself. If I didn't put it on him, then forget it, you know. And so anyway, he went to this appointment, and the doctor says, well, what are you doing here? You don't need surgery. And and then he wrote me about 6-8 months ago, and he said, after all this time, the glaucoma has never returned. His pressure is normal, and he doesn't need any medication. So.
Nice, good. And so Dawn just put the number, it's Clear Vision glyph number 34 and Sacred Symbols of Light. Thank you, Dawn.
Right. And I do recommend something, and when people have a consultation with me, I don't just push. I'm not pushing the glyphs. Whatever it works. Like there's some eye drops in Amazon. They're about $11, and they're also helpful. And so I would, with the glyphs, you can use anything else that works. And I recommend, Bach flower remedies, whatever works. I don't feel like glyphs are the be all and end all, the only thing that's available. We know there's a lot out there. And if it works, and then try something together with the glyphs, that's okay. No problem.
So RH is asking which glyphs for severe gum recession. Oh, she's got a couple of things here. Gum recession. We'll go with that one first. Yeah,
there's a dental glyph.
Yeah, and so one of the things.
Again, there's a Dr. Christopher's remedy that I get at Amazon. I use that too. So I just want to mention that, because I'm not, like I say, I try it all. I use it all, but there is a glyph for dental.
Yeah, awesome. And so, one of the things that Dr. Jean always says is like, yes, there are glyphs for physical things, but you also work on the emotional stuff as well.
Oh, always. I keep telling people, you are never done working with the emotional glyphs. Keep on it. I mean, after all this, I've been using these glyphs for 18, 16 years. I don't remember anymore. But I again use those glyphs. It wasn't long ago where I held that one for fear. Fear was my big issue. So I put that glyph for fear next to the bed, and when I woke up in the morning, I grabbed it and I put myself down there and put my head down. And I could feel stuff coming out of my abdomen and out of my legs. And finally, I'm free of irritable bowel syndrome, because all your digestive issues are emotional. Crohn's disease, any of it, it's all emotional. Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Anything for arthritis?
Well, first of all, arthritis there's a multi-level thing here. If you go to some primitive countries where they're eating roots that they dig out of the ground and vegetables, they don't have arthritis. A lot of arthritis problems are diet, but it's also holding resentment. Resentment can be part of so you've got to work on relieve the emotional glyphs, work on your diet. If your body is too acid, when the body is too acid, your body must maintain a pH balance. The blood is 7.4. If it's too acid, your body must maintain that or die. So it will pull alkalizing minerals, calcium and magnesium out of your bones, out of your teeth, and out of your ligaments. And since the ligaments are softer, it will take that first. And this is why we get knee problems and hip problems. When you get if you have a problem with your knees and your hips, it's not just go ahead and change your diet, and you have to be willing to change. You cannot get well doing the same thing that made you sick. So if you start alkalizing your diet and using the glyphs, there's a glyph for cellular repair and there's another one for bones. And I would even add, get yourself some supplements for the bones and joints. But if you're going to drink a pot of coffee every day, then then but people say 1 cup in the morning. Well, maybe there's this acid-free stuff but you do have to be willing to work at it from all angles. But when you hold resentment in, you can literally hold resentment in the joints of your body. So you need to work on that, relieving the resentment.
Awesome, good, thank you. And what about parathyroid?
Parathyroid, there is a thyroid glyph. When I got some cards and I shuffled them and it gave me the thyroid. So I put the thyroid glyph on my neck and I could feel it drawing something out of my thyroid. Your glands are very sensitive to toxic energy. So that helped a lot. But again, that's emotional. That's emotional.
Yeah.
So you need to work on the emotions.
Okay, awesome, great. Thank you so much, RH, for those questions. We have to accept and use the power of the symbols. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Go ahead.
People ask, do I need to believe in them for them to work? And they work great on animals and they don't believe in anything. I mean, but the thing also is they have no resentment, they have no skepticism, they have no ego. They're not, they don't doubt, they're not wondering, is this going to work and how long is it going to take, so that's a thing to remember. They work great on animals.
And Jillian is asking, is there a glyph to heal an acute herniated disc in the neck?
I would say there's one called cellular repair. I would work on that one. But again, I can tell right now that's emotional. That's definitely emotional. Stress really gets to our necks. You probably all experience times when you just,
Hold on. I don't know. Sometimes he sees things or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, for sure.
I want to share. Can I share a couple testimonials with you?
Yes,
I tell you about,
please.
yeah. Okay, the first one, this was absolutely amazing. A woman contacted me and she said her father had a collapsed lung. And so she used the lung glyph on him. He was in the hospital, and they said they were going to have to operate but they said, get his affairs in order. He was a very sick man. He had leukemia. And so she put the lung glyph on a surrogate for him. And they did an ultrasound that shows where the lung had collapsed. She said 38 hours, they did another ultrasound and the lung had healed. And so she got copies of the ultrasound, which I have in one of the books. But that's fascinating what it could do for people.
That's fast. 38 hours. That's fast.
Right. Then another story, and this one was just the neighbors had a Chihuahua, a 15-year-old Chihuahua, and the dog had stopped eating and it wasn't even drinking water and it was really in bad shape. So they took it to the vet, and the vet said it had kidney failure. And it also said that it had canker sores in its throat that it could not swallow. And so they suggested putting it to sleep. And that's often what you get when you could take an animal and they say it has kidney failure, that they recommend that because they have no answer for kidney failure. So they asked me about it, and I took with this, let me grab it. Sometimes for animals, I use a surrogate, I use a teddy bear. And so I went ahead and I put glyphs on the throat of the teddy bear for viruses, because canker sores are viruses, is a virus. And I put one to speed the healing, which is cellular repair. Then I put one on the back for the kidneys and also detoxing, the detox glyph. And the next day it started drinking water. The day after it started eating again. A week after this, they brought the dog over to show me how well he was doing. Now, I'm not here to insult any vet, but they don't have the answers all the time. They don't have the answers.
Yeah. And that's great that because it's hard to put a glyph on a dog. So it's great that you can use a surrogate.
Right, absolutely, right. And I've worked on, done it both ways. I had one dog who we adopted from the Humane Society, and when we take her for a ride, she would start throwing up. She would get car sick every time. And so I asked what I could do to help that dog. Excuse me 1 minute.
Yeah. We love our fur babies.
Little kombucha helps my throat there. So anyway, where was I?
The dog who is nauseous
Killer,
every time.
Killer, yes. Yeah. No, this is Jessie. So I was told that her brain had damage from starvation and dehydration as a puppy. And so I was told what to write for the glyph. And so we put on her, we used she had short hair, so we put it on. And in the book, there's an image for the chakras of the animals. So you put I put the glyph right on her head. And when we did that, she kind of rolled her eyes like, what's going on up there? And so after 2 weeks, she was much better. And then I used it another 2 weeks. She never got sick again. Never got sick again. So it's interesting to see you can heal the brain without cutting people's heads open.
Right. Yeah. And that's something you wanted to talk about, even like, with humans,
right.
Like my husband, for example, he had a stroke, and there's still some damage to parts of his brain that are still not functioning properly. Right. So, but getting better all the time. But glyphs can help with people who have suffered strokes or seizures or things like that.
Right. Absolutely. One woman who contacted me, she had a 2-year-old pit bull, a bulldog pit mix, and 2 years old is young that he is having seizures, and that's young to have seizures. And so what I recommended, first of all, that she remove the vaccinations, because the vaccinations, if they've got polysorbate 80 and formaldehyde and all that, they break down the blood-brain barrier, and that lets all the other, like mercury and aluminum, get into the brain. And then use a detox glyph. And I recommend that for anybody who gets a copy, has a copy of the book. Take that detox book and put it on your crown chakra to clear out all the chemicals and heavy metals. Everybody.
Right.
Because there's so much junk in our food and in our everywhere, you know. And so then I put, there's a glyph to heal the damaged brain. So we use that. And if it's a human being, I say also on the back of the neck, the one for circulation. Because in cases of dementia, oftentimes it's the problem is the lack of oxygen getting to the brain. And when I use that circulation glyph on the back of my neck, I could feel it working on these arteries in here. So if you've got plaque in these arteries and you're getting less oxygen to the brain, that's important to know. Okay.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Anyway, he never had seizures, or he was having tremors real bad too. They went away. She waited 2 months to call me because she wanted to make sure, but he never had a problem again. So that would be so great with these poor children who are suffering the results of a shot in the arm. Okay. And I think that I would like to see more children being able to use these glyphs. It really would. It could make a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So there's still some more questions in the chat. Let me see if I can find. So for the dental, Linda was asking, where do you place the glyphs for the dental work?
Well, it depends. Sometimes you're going to have to use a surrogate, because if you have one woman contacted me, and they had a child, a couple of years old, just crying and crying at night. They had a problem with their teeth. She said, I think she placed it right on the cheek, and the child went to sleep. So, but I think most times you're going to have to use a surrogate, because if you've got a gum problem, I don't see any way you could put it on your cheeks. No reason why not. But maybe that would be a good place for the bottle of water. Yeah, you have to experiment with that.
Yeah, play with it. What about fatigue? So regular fatigue and even chronic fatigue.
Well, chronic fatigue, it often can be a medical problem. Certainly people who have Lyme's disease get fatigue. And so I, again, use all the emotional glyphs. And then in the book, there are dowsing charts. Sometimes it would be, and everybody needs to learn to douse. Do try to learn to douse, and just take it with a pendulum, or anything that and give that a try. Because if it's coming from a medical problem, see, we have to figure out where is he, or it can be emotional. And now there is one glyph for the for energy, where it works on the Dantian, it's right. And the, what is the other one that's called? It's called for another area that it works on the same glyph. And one man said that he had a job that he had to drive a certain distance every day, and he would get so tired that he would have to stop and take a nap in the car.
Right.
And so then he's used that glyph, and I remember the number, it was 99. And he said that made the difference. He didn't have to stop anymore to take a nap. So yes, and then a lot of times the fatigue is emotional too. Like yeah, if you're tired and you're kind of dragging around and all of a sudden the phone rings and they say, hey, we're in town, we just got here, we're going to stop by to see you. All of a sudden you can come into life as you're running around to pick up all the stuff laying around so they don't see the mess in your house.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing is, like with emotional and with stress, for example, it does take its toll, and it can be, you know, a long-term thing that, you know, can affect your physical vitality. So for sure, again, even stress, it's a lot about emotions, again, fear, and, you know, just everything else that goes on with it. So it's really
Well,
important to look at fear for sure. Go ahead. Or the different types of emotions.
well, I was thinking about that. Sometimes I'm dragging around. And one thing I teach is aging is a lie that we
Yeah.
bought into. And so you know, you're only as old as you think you are, or as young as you think you are. And sometimes if I'm dragging around, I think, wait a minute, I'm only 21 years old. I can do better than shuffling my feet here. And I can psych myself up and get out of the slump, you know.
True. I remember when I was 25, I can't remember, 21 is like not a good time, but 25, I had lots of energy for sure. So yeah, just bring that type of energy back in, focusing on that time and how you felt at that time. It'll give you a boost.
Yeah, what I tell people is those numbers on your birth certificate are only important if you're getting your driver's license or your social security or your passport.
Yeah.
Other than that, forget those numbers, And it's hard because we have been conditioned. We are literally programmed to keep that in mind, that you get sick, you get old, and you die. And we need to let go of all the beliefs that do not serve us. And there's a lot of them. There are a lot of them. And
sure.
one of the ones that I tell people is this idea that you can catch something. You can catch a cold. And oh, my husband came home and he gave it to me, and the kids gave it to me. And so you psyched yourself up to believe, okay, they're sick, so I'm getting sick. There's this thing that they have. I never get sick anymore. You can let go of that belief. You catch something. Because if you can stop believing that you can, if you believe that you're never going to catch something again because you are totally immune, you have the power of God. You have the power of God. Why should you catch anything? I have not had a cold, a flu, or anything for over 20 years. And when any sickness came along, which shall remain nameless, I didn't worry about it. It just did not affect, that is not in my reality. That is not in my reality. And I never concerned myself with that. I could walk into Walmart and not be concerned that anything was going to bother me.
Yeah, so it really does have a lot to do with our beliefs and how we've been programmed, whether it's from this lifetime or previous lifetimes or the collective or whatever. But it is important to look at your beliefs and challenge them, question them. And Judy's asking if there's a glyph for plantar fasciitis.
Yeah, now that one, again, that's an emotional issue. And I would use the cellular repair on that one. But I would also work on emotional issues. Yeah. Now, one I wanted to tell you about, a woman had, her sister had a tumor on her foot. And so unknown to her sister, she went ahead and used the glyph for malignancy. Malignancy glyph will also help with benign tumors. And so after 2 weeks, she said, her sister went to the doctor and it was about half gone. And then after another 2 weeks, it disappeared completely. And her sister, then she told her sister about it afterward. So I wanted to, as I mentioned, there was one time I was told to create a glyph for nerve damage. And so I had somebody who I needed a ride to Asheville to my car was at the Toyota shop there. And so they drove me to Asheville, and I gave them a copy of my first book as a gift. And it had in that glyph to relieve muscle, no, not damaged nerves. That's what it was, damaged nerves. So this man was in his 50s. And he told me on the trip that he said he had a problem where he was using crystalline methamphetamine. And he said it had damaged his nerves. And he said, and as he termed it, he said, I had trouble staying on my game in life, whatever that was. And so he called me afterward, and he said, I want to tell you that glyph really made a difference in my life. He said that the nerve damage had made him impotent. And so he used that glyph, and he felt a warm feeling come over him. He said the next day it was back all the way. I felt like a 20-year-old. Now, I want to mention, though, that being impotent can have many causes. So I don't promise every situation like that particular glyph would heal everything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Good for him. Jillian's asking, is there a glyph to balance neurotransmitters? So it has to do with the brain, right?
Right. There's one, number 30. Yes. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what the name is. Balance. As a matter of fact, it has a picture of like the thing with the whole weights and balances. Yeah, it's glyph number 30, and I'm trying to think what the name is. It's in the first book.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So balance. I mean, and we all could use balance in our lives, balance in our body, balance in our energy field, balance in our emotions, for sure. My throat is going now, so it's like
right. Yeah. Now the one for healing the damaged brain, I tell people to put that on their crown chakra regardless, because we all sustain a certain amount. General balancing. Thank you, Dawn. We all sustain a certain amount of damage over the years for our brain, and even we don't have to be walking crazy before we, even if you hit your head on something, and then if you see stars for a while, but you're not falling over, so I guess I'm okay. But there's oftentimes a certain amount of closed head damage that the body will work its way through, but that glyph, when I used it, I could feel it doing something. I could feel there was definitely a certain degree of damage there. And I encourage the women to take the glyph for malignancy. And I'd take 4 of those. And then 4, there's 1, 2 for the lymphatic system. And I put them in your bra and wear those for a couple of days as just, let's call it a little prevention. Because when I used it myself, I did have a lump in my breast, and I put those glyphs in there, and I could feel it doing something. And then whatever it was doing went down my arm. And that I used it a couple of days, and then that feeling, whatever it was, went away. Did I have something? I don't know. I don't go to doctors. I have given up. I did have an accident years ago where I had to have an x-ray. But I don't, doctors are great if you're hit by a car, or then that's a place to go, because they do amazing things with broken bodies. But when it comes to sickness, I'll do what I can for myself. And I avoided, I had a real serious, real scary thing with my gallbladder, really scary. And so I took 4 of the detox glyph, the detox 2, there are 2 detox ones, and one of them will dissolve gallstones. And I took the one for the bacteria viral thing. I just put a bunch of them on there. The next morning, I felt a whole lot better. Within a week, I felt about 95% better, and then it just went away. It was gone after that. So that I'm not letting anybody cut any parts out of me. Again, I mean, I'm sorry, but this idea that there's certain parts of your body that you don't need, like tonsils and adenoids, I'm sorry, that's crazy. That's crazy. If it's there in your body, there's a reason.
There's a reason. I agree.
You weren't built that way.
Yeah. For those of you who are not here on the Zoom now, I'm just gonna, the general balancing is number 30, just because in case somebody listening and didn't understand what it was. General balancing is number 30. You can put it on your crown chakra. The dental repair is in the first book, and it's number 49. Thank you, Linda and Don. And Terry has a question about the teddy bear. We're using it as a surrogate. Do I just take a teddy bear and use the glyph, or need to prepare that teddy bear somehow?
No, you don't need to prepare it in any way at all. But the whole thing is intention. And remember, these glyphs have consciousness. And when you're working on someone, and there's people that I've been working on a long time who have had serious accidents where their brain is damaged, and when you are working on someone over a period of time, trying to help them rebuild their body, I talk to those glyphs. I treat them just like my crystals. I thank my crystals. I thank the glyphs. And I tell them they're doing a great job and just keep on. And about every week or so, I just kind of check in with them. I don't have to say the affirmation. I just check in with it and I say, thank you. Let's keep up. Let's keep up with this healing this person.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a question here from Don, I think it was. Is it better to use the printed glyph on the body or on a water bottle?
I don't know that there's a better. I think the way I used them for my problem, having bites all over my body, that water bottle was the best and the fastest way. I put the circulation glyph on there too, just to kind of keep it. But is it better on the body? I would say it depends. Like I stubbed my toe just the other day. It's really bad. And I thought, is it broken, And so I took, in this case, I felt putting him on the body. I took 2 of the cellular repairs and taped them around my big toe. At night, it was really painful. So I got up, and that's when I put I couldn't sleep because it was so painful. And so I wrapped it around my toe with the cellular repair glyph. And I was able to get to sleep. The next day it felt fine, but I left that on there. And then after a couple of days, 2-3 days, I took the bandage off, and the toe looked pretty bad, looked kind of rough. It was kind of discolored. And so I just went and got 2 new glyphs, another piece of tape. I was going to go for a walk, and then I decided maybe I need to rest this toe for a while. Mm-hmm. So, I can get carried away about,
So Judy's asking, which emotional glyph do I use with the cellular glyph? Well, it depends, right? It could be, that's too vague of a question, because what's the issue?
Like the emotional glyphs, I would just keep using them all, but some of you certainly know, like me, fear was the biggest issue. And there were also, I was married to an alcoholic for 20 years. You get a lot of resentment and anger. So certainly I had a lot of that. And when you raise children, I don't care how good a mother you are, you feel a certain amount of guilt over something you didn't do or should have done or something.
For sure.
It's just part of the game, part of the whole game.
I totally agree. Madalena says, have you developed a glyph for growing back a missing tooth?
There is a glyph. The one thing is, it's just like growing back your adenoids or your tonsils. You have to be able to release any thought that it's not possible. And if you ever listen to Cryon, and a lot of you have probably listened to Cryon, he said that we can grow back in teeth. And then there's a group on Facebook, Regenerational Healing, where it works on working people are trying to grow back teeth. It's possible, but it's going to take some work. There's a glyph And I think you have to certainly, it's not just that you have to know it up here. You can say, yes, I'm able to do this, but the cells in your body have to be in line with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And as I tell people that your cells are always listening, whatever thought, what you have, in whatever you say, they hear that. And like on one woman I was working with is a paraplegic, and I was getting that she could walk, but that there was a certain, that she could overcome this. But as long as she keeps you're telling yourself that you have this problem, then you will keep that problem. If you are not convinced that you could grow a new tooth, if you're doubting that, then it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So you have to be able to get beyond, just like getting the idea that you don't catch anything. You have to get where you really believe that, and you have to work on the fear glyph, because what happened with sicknesses we had in the last couple of years, fear was a big issue. But if you have that fear glyph and you stay off the TV set, then you won't have a problem. You won't have a problem.
Awesome. Good. Thank you. And thank you for that question, Madalena. All right. One more question from Lucy. She says, my sister suffers from tinnitus and has also gone deaf. Any advice for her?
Okay, there's a glyph for hearing, but a lot of issues, I'll have to say, a lot depends upon how long you've had it. And like one man wanted me, he was 95% deaf and he was in his 80s and was hoping he could get his hearing back. If it's a long-term thing, it's going to be taking just as long. It's going to take a long time to heal that. I'm not saying that for sure. It could take a long time, because I had one situation with a dog, it was a Westie, and she had lost her hearing. And it was only a few months they had noticed that the hearing was gone. And they even showed me, they called her and she didn't come. And so I went and I put a glyph on a teddy bear, which I found a white one since the Westie is white. And I put it under the ear and under her ears. And that evening I said, her name was Daisy. And I said, Daisy, you want to go for a walk? And she ran right over. So it healed her in a matter of hours, but she had not been, and again, she was a dog, dogs heal fast. Yeah. And she came right over and it worked. But if a person's very elderly and they've had it for a long time, but another one I want to mention, one woman who was taking care of her father who had Alzheimer's, and she put the glyph to heal the damaged brain. I would have used more glyphs and different ones, but she just put that one on, and she said it was really showing improvement, and he liked it. At night before he went to bed, she'd say, would you put my glyphs on me? And so that was, I've had amazing ones with the heart and the brain glyph, and just amazing. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So I just want to, we'll get back to questions in just a minute, Dr. Jean, but I just want to talk a little bit about the packages. If that's okay, because we're at that time. I'm just going to share my screen, hopefully. I'm not going to share screen. Okay, hopefully it's working. Yes. Okay, hold on. All right, here we go. So Dr. Jean has two packages, package A and B, and I'm just going to scroll down. Package A has all of the 4 healing manuals plus the sacred symbol of Mu. So Dr. Jean, do you want to just quickly talk about some of these manuals and which ones? I mean, there's a lot written here already, but just a little bit about them.
Okay, the first book I wrote was the one to heal all the emotional issues. And it also has the one for detox, and it works great. And the one for cellular repair and for viruses and bacterial issues. And these are the things I needed at first when I started working on it, but then, and I really intended only to write one book, but it didn't work out that way. But then the second one was for all of the physical ailments. And it worked on so many of these things, the organs and glands. I tried to cover every organ and gland. And I actually, was my own guinea pig. I had a heart issue that has been resolved with the use of the glyphs. So that's a powerful book. That is a powerful book. And that has the one to remove those shots in the arm. And I will say this now, no matter what somebody believes, all shots damage the immune system. When they contain mercury, formaldehyde, polysorbate 80, they all damage the immune system, unless they're homeopathic. Okay, then symbols of the dawn. I just kept getting more things, and that one the one to heal the brain, I was told to heal the part of the brain that was bothering little Jessie. But then I realized that I needed to rewrite it, and I wrote it for every part of the brain. It's got the books have programming. I mean, the glyphs have programming statements. And I would say, look at this part of the brain and then heal that. And if they're not, then it would go each part of the brain. I covered every area of the brain for the glyph to look at that and see if it needed any help and then resolve any issue.
Awesome.
And then the third one, when we're talking about a span of about 12 years before, when at the beginning, we never heard of nanotechnology. We never knew there was something that was in the air, in the chemtrails, and in that would be damaging us, and in these things that go in the arm. And so then there were just other ones that we just when people ask for how can we remove tattoos, it will take a long time. When you're trying to remove a tattoo, they go in deep, and so it's going to take a lot of patience. And the same with scars. It will take time if we're doing something like that. The one for trauma and shock was amazing. When somebody in Canada, a friend in Canada, recommended this, and I created it, and I was even given a picture of a feather with blood on it and told what to write for that. And I could feel stuff. We've all been through trauma and shock. We all have.
Yeah.
And then I was not going to write one for diabetes. And then I was told, oh, no, you want to write one because you want to help remove diabetic pointers. Some people are prone to diabetes, and this will help remove the diabetic pointers in their body, like if it's hereditary. This will help remove that. And I just went on to different ones, trying to whatever I felt that was important at the time. Now I want to talk about the Sacred Symbols of Mu there. That's a great book. When I built a chapel on my land, I have a powerful vortex, and the Dowsers group from Georgia came up and said that he said that was a really powerful vortex, and it was on a 1 to 10. It was a 10 plus for healing. And he said, you need to sleep there. And I tried that with a tent, but forget it. I couldn't sleep with a tent. 2 o'clock in the morning, I told the dog, let's go home. And so I had a chapel built there, and it has a mattress where people could sleep there. But I wanted to have some windows in there. I wanted to put some stained glass windows. And so I went up to where my bookcase was, and there was a book laying on the floor. And so I picked it up and I put it back on the shelf, and then I turned around to walk away, and it fell on the floor again. And I thought, whoa, we're getting a message here. And so that was that book. That was the Sacred Symbols of Mu. And I opened it up, and there was a perfect image that I wanted to have done in stained glass for the
nice.
chapel. Yeah, so I just felt like this was a good book. That is a good book.
Awesome. So that's package A, and that's there are 2 and 3 part payment plans available, and there's also a 24-hour special gift code TACS10 if you'd like to get package A. And then package B includes everything in package A plus programming statements plus a
Right.
personal session with you, Jean, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about the programming statements.
Yeah.
Every glyph has a programming statement that's directions on telling the glyph what to do. And when we read that programming statement, that in the ceremony, that statement goes up to the central sun, and the central sun sends down electronic impulses, and that goes into the glyph and stays with the glyph as long as it's in existence. But I want to say this book of programming statements does not contain the glyphs. They are the programming statements for the glyphs that are in the book.
Mhm. Yeah.
About 40 pages, I think, or 20 pages. I'm not sure. Okay, and then the personal session, in our consultation, and you can divide that up into 2 30-minute. And then people say, well, what happens in a consultation? Well, what do you want to happen? What do you have to say? I ask people, everybody, it's always different. It will be different. People have different questions. And but I encourage people when they get a glyph package with a consultation, look at the book first and try the glyphs first, because there's no sense wasting your consultation on asking questions that are in the book.
Absolutely. But yes, you can book 2 30-minute sessions. And, it's not just about the glyphs. Dr. Jean is also very intuitive. So she'll take, give you more information about what's coming up, maybe.
Yeah, I want to give one example that really amazed me. One man that I had a session with, he felt very bad. He felt his father did not love him. And this really bothered him. His father had passed since then. And I didn't know really what to say about that. But after we hung up the phone, I got a message from his father who had passed. And he said, please tell my son I didn't know how to be a father, that I do love him. And I was just, and so I called him back. And the difference what that made to that man, because a lot of people who have parents that don't do a great job, sometimes they just don't know any better. They just don't know how.
True. Awesome. Thank you. And so package B, again, there are 2 and 3 part payment plans available, and the 24-hour special gift code TACS10. So yes, definitely please do take advantage of these programs, these packages. And I'm just going to put the link in the chat as well. It's alara.at/show/Jean8. So there you go. There was a question in here from Karen, and Karen says, I've been using these miraculous glyphs for about 5 years now, and they've definitely healed me a lot. However, my balance has gotten worse and I seem to drop things more. Any advice on which glyphs best to use, please? I have 3 of the books now. Good.
Okay, let me talk about first of all, that glyph for hearing. I had vertigo so bad that I didn't think I could make it back from the mailbox one day. I put the glyphs under here for hearing, and the next day it was gone. And I was really sick with it. I was throwing up. But balance. Now, one of the things I noticed after my dogs passed, I stopped walking as much. And I started having more of a balance problem. So one of the things is we need to keep up our exercise, get out and walk and get that exercise, if you can, a couple times a day, because that will affect your balance if you're not getting enough exercise. And that's one of the reasons. It's not age. It is not age that's doing it. Now you can try some of the glyphs for balancing the brain. And the glyph for hearing, I would go ahead and use that one. I definitely would certainly try that, and use the one for the healing the brain. I would put that one on there too. I would, that's worth a try. But definitely you got to get some exercise. Think young.
Yeah. And Jillian says, I missed how you use a surrogate, not animals, but people, please. Is it using a photograph?
You can use a photograph, and here's one.
Yeah, you can use a photograph as well.
Here's
You
one,
can,
but here's one with, now I have regular people that I work on. And so I type out a page and they'll show you in book number 4. There's an appendix in book number, there's really great ones in book number 4 on how to use a surrogate and with a teddy bear or with a piece of paper, but also on protocols to use on different series of glyphs, like if you're healing someone who's got dementia or seizures, it's going to take 3 or 4 glyphs to use, and so the book number 4 will tell you that. But I put the glyphs on. I put the name of the person, what I'm healing them for, and I put the date, and I put the glyphs on. Now, just you don't need to really. One of the people in my group said they just say that they put a number, they're going to use so many of these glyphs. This is for a person with a brain injury, and then cellular repair for a tracheotomy. And I put the different ones on for the lungs. You don't have to be that fancy with it. You could just be a little more simplistic, but that helps me keep track.
yeah.
It just, I feel different people will use it different, and there's no wrong way to use the glyphs. There is no wrong way to use the glyphs, but always be respectful for them, with them. And when you're not using them anymore, if they get damaged, tear them in half and throw them away, because that deactivates the impulse that they're getting from the central sun.
So yes, it's your intention. So don't overcomplicate it, is basically also what Dr. Jean is saying. Keep it simple, and it's your intention as well. Linda said the glyphs for disease imbalances is number 84, symbols of the dawn, and it's called wet cell battery.
Oh yeah, the wet cell battery is great. My sister healed her husband of Alzheimer's with a real, I got that information. She went ahead and got a wet cell battery, came from the Edgar Casey. Many of you who are healers for some time have heard of Edgar Casey. And so she got the wet cell battery, which is expensive, and it's a nuisance too. I mean, it's a lot of trouble. You have to hook yourself up to it every 30 minutes every day. But she said there's a simple test for Alzheimer's. She said you try to tell the person to draw a picture of a clock on a quarter hour. And she said she did that with her husband, and she said he had numbers all over the page. So then after a few months of working with the wet cell battery, it looked better. And then after 6 months, he did it perfect. And so I asked, can I do that with a glyph? Can we do that with a glyph? And I was told, yes, it would work with a glyph. So that's why I created that glyph. And there are some glyphs like that one that are often ignored by even people who have the books for a while. But that is a good one to use for a lot of different things. Definitely. And energy, I would say it will work for energy too.
Awesome. Good. Thank you. Whew, lots of info on this call from Dr. Jean, like always. So anything else, Dr. Jean, that you want to share with everyone?
Oh, I think about covered it all.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to use the glyphs. I mean, there's so many different issues that you can use the glyphs for, and there's also different ways that you can use the glyphs. So keep it simple, don't complicate it. Sometimes it's just your intention, and sometimes you can just ask, okay, do the dowsing, and you can also ask, okay, which glyph should I use? So I know, Dr. Jean, a couple of times you've mentioned how there's an index in each of the books, and you can just go down the index to find out which one you need by asking a question, right?
Right. Okay, look at the table of contents, and but also if I get questions about how do we heal such and such illness or something I've never even heard before. And so when there's some situation, look it up, do a basic search on this illness. What does it affect? Does it affect the muscles? Does it affect the nerves? What part of the body is it affecting? And and go with those glyphs. There's one to repair the damaged muscles. There's one for the nerve, several for the nerves. So whatever the situation is, if it's Parkinson's, in addition to, and always remember, Parkinson's got an emotional basis to it, but it's also very physical. So always look it up and do a little research, and that will tell you what you need to start working with. There's no way I could cover all the diseases in Glyphs in the book.
Exactly. There's so many things that are out there for sure. But but these 4 books, there's so many ways to help yourself on all levels. And I think, one of the questions you had asked, Linda, about ascension, I think in one of the books it said it's like blocks to enlightenment, that's
Right.
a glyph, blocks to enlightenment. So that's
Right.
ascension, right?
Right.
Essentially. So that's what I think in book 3 or 4, I forget which one, because I was just reading it
It's
when we
4.
were doing the page, special offer page. But that's a great one. And just start, right? So believe in it, start, use it with the belief that it works, because we've heard so many testimonials from Dr. Jean and people on the call about how they've used it and how it's helped, right? So know that it's possible, know that this is healing from source, from God, from coming through the central sun, and it can't do any harm, right? So you can use it with other modalities, other treatments, combine it with different things and work with it, play with it. And but don't say, well, I wonder if it'll work. It will work. Are you willing to receive it? Are you willing to receive the healing? Are you willing to receive the transformation and change? Okay, so that's up to you. Ask yourself, and what emotions are coming up when you think about the issue that you're going through or trying to address, right? Because you want to also address the emotions, not just the physical symptom, right?
I just saw a question come up, the loss of smell and taste. The glyph for hearing, I also added after the fact, one to restore, oftentimes age, you lose a certain amount of your ability to smell. That glyph for hearing will help that.
Awesome, good. So like you wouldn't have known that, right? But in the past couple of years, a lot of people have lost their smell, smell and taste the past couple of years. So, I think there's other ones for other glyphs for vaccinations and stuff like that too that you can use. So just work with it, play with it, ask. And Karen says also just allowing the healing. Yeah, for sure. Allowing the healing to take place and allowing yourself to receive the healing. For sure. Yeah.
Right. Because there are people who claim their disease, they claim their illness, and the doctor says you're going to have this the rest of your life, and they believe that. Yeah. We gotta get away from that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
we gotta be, if you claim it, and what's really difficult is when somebody gets an income out of their illness. That's a tough one because that's hard to let go of.
Yeah, for sure. And there's no judgment there, but it is something that you have to look at for yourself, for yourself or somebody else that you're working with, right? Are they willing to let go of that illness, disease, whatever issue that is, because then they might lose the benefits of disability insurance or whatever, right? And that's a real tangible thing, right? So that can come up. So again, that would be fear of losing security, money, whatever, right? So
right, absolutely.
There's a lot of fear in our system, right? So please use the emotional glyphs as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Jean. This was awesome and wonderful. And the lighting is amazing. So that definitely helped a lot. And we answered so many questions about different things. And, use your intuition, ask questions and see how it's like, okay, let me try using it this way because it's a different way than normal. Yeah, let's do it. Right. So experiment, play, but with the belief that it works. Okay, but experimenting in different ways, but with the belief that it works. Okay?
Don't have any judgment. It's difficult for us humans not to have judgment, but you just have to do the best. No expectations. Just think like a dog is what I say. Think like a dog.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. And thank you so much, everyone, for all of your questions and your feedback and sharing in the chat with the numbers and the glyphs. Thank you so much for all of that. I don't know how you remember all of the glyphs, Dr. Jean. There's so many. So thank you for all of your support, everyone. All right, everyone. So thank you. Until next time, tomorrow we have a show. Until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all much love and blessings. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right. Wonderful. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jean.
Thank you, Alara. Many blessings to you.
You too. Bye for now.